Hi everyone, my name is Odo. We are Group 9. My group mates are Ivy, Karen, Silva, Emily, and Ray. Our project talks about the development of female costumes in Tang Dynasty, a case study of Dunhuang arts and murals. I'll be responsible to give you an introduction and talk about our methodology. Emily would then give us a general development of female costume in Tang Dynasty, while the rest of our group mates would illustrate how different types of female costume demonstrate the development. Ivy will start from the change in female donors' clothing. Ray will talk about female riding and archery clothing. Karen would then talk about what women wear daily. And Silver will talk about what women wear in their one of their most important days of their life, their wedding day. Silver will also give us a conclusion to wrap up our project and show us the reference list. So, previous scholarship have give us a general overview of fashion trends in medieval China. There are discussions on the costumes of ethnic minorities in Dunhuang, in the Silk Road. There are general trends of what Han people wear from the Han Dynasty to the Sui Dynasty, from the Sui Dynasty to the Tang Dynasty. On the other hand, another branch of scholarship actually focuses on a specified element in the grand scheme of female clothing, such as the costume of female dancers in Dunhuang and Khotanese queens and princesses. What do they wear in the Tang Dynasty? However, despite the rich scholarship on female costumes in general, there is limited scholarship focusing on the holistic development of Tang female costumes, with the illustrations in different types of female costumes. Therefore, our project would show you how female costumes change from general trends to concrete examples in different types of clothing, the evolution from early Tang to late Tang. So, our objective is to explore how foreign influence and socio-political changes in Tang Dynasty influence the development of different types of female clothing. We have three research questions. The first one is what female costumes are present. The second is how the Silk Road influenced the changes. And the third one is why there are such changes and how did the social political changes contribute to such changes. To complete our project, we have conducted visual and textual analysis on both primary and secondary source. Primary source include images of caves, text from sutras, photos from museum collections. Secondary sources include both Chinese journals and Western books as well. For that, you can see it in our references, and I will leave Emily to give you an overview of the general introduction.
Hello everyone, I'm Emily Wong, and I want to talk about the connection between the female customs and the Tang society. By looking at the timeline, we can see that the Tang society can be cut into a three time period. First is the early Tang. At that time, we can see that the woman is much more thinner and dressed in a light and simple color. Also, the emperor gave limitation of woman dressing. Wearing a skirt with more than 7 pulls is not allowed. And the clothing at that time is highly influenced by the whole culture. Women are recommended to wear something which is thin and tight. It represents the economic damage. After the war with the Sui Dynasty, the society, the country do not have much more free money to use. To save the money, emperor give limitation of women clothing. And also because of the last dynasty influence, women have a lower status. They need to cover all of their skins by the clothing, and they have a lot of limitation. And the people at that time have a strong social inclusiveness. They are recommended to absorb foreign culture in their dressing. Next is the Middle Tang. You can see in the Middle Tang, women can wear more vibrant color since they can use some new dye from the skills world. And also, the emperor removed the limitation of dressing. Women can dress more openly. Bare chests, bare arms is all allowed. And they have much more choice of style. Golden, silver, and also the pearl. These all have been used of jewelry at that time. Girls wear boys' shirts. This also happened in this time period. It represents the economic upturn, with the several 10 years with a great emperor, who is the Tang Taizong. The society and women have much more free money to spend and use. And because of the society has well development, it's become more inclusive and open. They rise up the women's status, and therefore women have much more choice for their dressing. And it has a lot of cultural confidence, since Tang society has become the strongest country in Asia in this time period. Last is the late Tang. In late Tang, women wear loose clothes, and also their jewelry become more simple. Their clothing is more influenced by their faith. This is because in the late Tang, the Anshi Zhilan it happened. It caused the political instability, and the people lost their belief with the policies, and therefore they skip other spiritual substances, which is the faith. And because of the Anshi Zhilan, it come from a people from the Hu culture. They resist elements related to Hu, and the war damaged economy. So even the woman or the society do not have much more extra money to use and waste. And next is the Ivy part.
Thank you, Emily. I'm Ivy. Then we do a further research on female donors' clothes on Tang Dynasty, taking several Dunhuo murals as research subjects to discuss the detailed characteristics of female donors. Donors refer to those provide favorable conditions for the development of Buddhism by offering financial support or assistance in building Buddhist places. Therefore, donors are usually people with abundant financial resources, high social status, and prestige, such as members of the royal family, nobles, and officials. The merits of creating Buddha images promotes the benefits of it, stating that it can help patrons escape the sea of suffering after death and reach the Western Pure Land. Therefore, the portraits of patrons are often painted at the bottom or sides of the cave murals. The murals in the Mogao grottos of the Tang Dynasty often depict the images of donors, among which there are quite a few female donors. Female donors were often dressed in luxury clothing, which demonstrated their status as members of the upper class in prominent families and their substantial financial resources. During the Tang Dynasty, the temporary prosperity of Buddhism attracted more donors, but there were also motives that catered to worldly mentalities. Some female donors had their own personal faith in Buddhism, while others followed their family in making donations to enhance their prestige. We will take a close look of these two murals, respectively from High Tang and Late Tang. The first characteristic is a white use of pizi, which is a traditional Chinese shoulder garment. The term pi first appeared during the Han Dynasty, referring to the shoulder wrap worn by both men and women. This likely reflected the influence of Xianbei people, whose clothing didn't enforce strict gender distinctions. During the Tang Dynasty, influenced by Buddhism and Taoism, the pizi evolved into two distinctive styles. First, Taoist-inspired style, which is wide and flowing. Influenced by the He Chang, this version became broad and voluminous. For example, Lady Wang wears a beam-pattern pizi tied at the chest, indicating it's used in formal ceremonial occasions due to its luxurious craftsmanship. Second is Buddhist-inspired style, influenced by the flowing ribbons of Bodhisattva. This style became long and slender, resembling triolet scarves. As seen in Cave 61, the women's gown features long, narrow ribbons loosely draped over the sleeves, creating an elegant floating effect. Through the use of pizi, we can tell the significance of intercultural trend. The next characteristic is white gauze sleeve covering. The large-sleeved red jacket was worn with an additional layer of translucent white gauze draped over the arms. The hands were gently concealed within the sleeves, lightly veiled by the sheer fabric, allowing only a faint outline of the fingers to show. This delicate overlay served a purely decorative purpose. Then we also found female attire in male clothing. We can see those servants after nobles who wear round collar man's robe, a common Tang Dynasty male garment with a plain, undecorated belt at the waist, exemplifying the trend of women adopting masculine styles.
Thank you, Ivy. I'm Ria, and I'll continue with the evolution of women's riding and archery clothing during this era, which vividly reflects the social landscape of that time. Firstly, start with the early Tang. The upper garments and lower garments exhibited here were convenient for movement and highly suitable for riding and archery, such as the narrow-sleeved clothes and tight-fitting long pants. The materials, decorations, and colors were also simple, aligning with the economic situation of the time. A prime example is the tricolored glazed equestrian pottery figurine from Li Zhen's tomb, 李真木三彩骑马陶俑. It wears a turned-up brimmed 胡 hat, 翻檐胡帽, a narrow-sleeved shirt, 窄袖衫, a round-collared half-arm garment, 圆领半臂衣 over it, and round-toed shoes, 圆头鞋. Next, moving to the high tongue, some upper garments were paired with cloaks or mantles, adding a touch of elegance. The materials used were still silk, and the colors became more vivid compared to the early Tang Dynasty. Colors like red, green, and yellow were commonly seen, and they were decorated with printing or jewels. The shoes, such as high-topped boots, 高筒靴, and leather boots, 皮靴, were more exquisitely decorated. They also have a preference to high buns and more elaborate makeups. Taking the spring outing of Lady Guo, 国国夫人游春图, as an example, Lady Guo's attire, especially the light blue narrow-sleeved upper garment, 淡青色窄袖上衣, and the large ruche color skirt with gold embroidered patterns, 描金团花胭脂色大裙, explicitly show the style of that era. Another example is the pottery figurine from the tomb of Princess Yongtai, 永泰公主墓陶俑, who wears a dark green and red turned-up collared 胡 suit, 深绿色大红翻领胡服. These examples showcase the luxurious and vibrant style of women's riding and archery attire in the High Tang Dynasty. Finally, in the mid-late Tang, people's attitude towards Hu clothing became mainly one of rejection. There was a stronger emphasis on the traditional Chinese style. After the late Tang Dynasty, clothing styles became even more inclined towards being large and loose. The Eiga style clothing became popular, and the overall style became more simple as the influence of Hu culture weakened. But the luxurious and ornate style still prevailed among the nobility and the wealthy. For instance, Lady Song in the picture of Lady Song's outing 宋国夫人出行图 on the north wall of Cave 156 in Mogao Caves, wears a large-sleeved robe and skirt 大袖衫裙, which is luxurious and graceful. Compared to it, the pottery figurine from Sun Ze's tomb, 孙泽木陶俑, reflects the characteristics of simplicity of this period, especially displayed by the low-cut undergarment 低胸入衣 and the simple shawl. That's all about female riding and archery clothing, and Karen will continue to introduce the female daily clothing in Tang Dynasty.
Thank you, Ria. I'm Karen, and now I will talk about female daily costumes during the Tang Dynasty. Firstly, there are key social-political factors that shaped female daily costumes during the Tang Dynasty. In the early Tang period, the ruling Li's family's Xianbei heritage played a crucial role in fashion. This legacy introduced hybrid styles, blending Han and nomadic influences. For instance, high-waisted garments like the Qixiong Ruqun were adapted from the practical attire of nomadic cultures. Military expansions also influenced women's clothing. Campaigns into Central Asia brought new textiles and riding garments, integrating foreign elements into daily attire. This mixture of styles laid the foundation for the diverse fashion that would emerge. Moving into the High Tang period, we see a remarkable cultural openness. Chang'an, the capital, became a global metropolis, absorbing aesthetics from Sogdian, Persian, and Turkic cultures. This led to bold styles such as low-cut necklines and sheer shawls, 皮帛, which symbolized liberation and sophistication. Moreover, the influence of powerful women like Emperor Wu Zetian challenged traditional gender norms. In the Middle Tang period, marked by the Anlushan Rebellion, brought significant changes. The crisis weakened central authority, leading to a shift towards regional diversity in fashion. Darker colors such as moon green skirts became popular as a reflection of the changing social landscape. Economic strain from reduced Silk Road trade also impact fashion. This led to a focus on localized textile production, resulting in simpler designs that emphasize practicality over opulence. Now, let's briefly touch onto the characteristics of female clothing across these periods. In the early Tang, headwear include gaosongji, which featured high, tight buns and veiled hats, with jackets having high necklines and narrow sleeves. Banbi, short-sleeved vests are worn over the ru. Skirts were high-waisted and footwear included embroidered silk slippers. In High Tang, hairstyles evolved to include spiral-shaped buns, 罗髻, and flying aspera buns, 飞天髻, that are Buddhist-inspired. Upper garments had low necklines and wide sleeves, while skirts became voluminous with gradient dyes. Accessories included ornate belts and transparent shawls. In the Middle Tang, hairstyles featured massive asymmetrical buns and peak caps, clothing and hanging necklines and layered robes, while skirts became extremely wide, requiring hip padding. Footwear included curled-toe shoes, reflecting Persian influences. That's the end of female daily clothing in Tang Dynasty, and Silver will introduce the female wedding costumes.
Thank you, Karen. I'm Silva. Next, let's talk about female wedding clothing. What did the bride wear during a wedding ceremony in the Tang Dynasty? We can find some clues in the Dunhuang Cave murals. Take a look at the mural in Yulin Cave 25. A wedding ceremony of a Tibetan man and a Chinese woman is set inside the traditional wedding tent. The man kneeling down is the groom, while the bride is beside him, dressed in a blue-green wedding gown. The women at the bottom right have the green voile hairpin inserted in the chignon. The bride is the central woman, wearing a corona on her head. Let's look at a grander wedding ceremony in Cave 445. In the Tang Dynasty, green gowns were the popular style for brides. That makes me wonder, why does the bride here seems to wear a red gown? Then I found another wedding scene in Cave 33. Where the bride has similar head decorations but is dressed in a red and green gown. A possible hypothesis I have is that the tan covers part of the dress, so only the red part is visible, while the green coat is underneath. Besides the high Tang murals, we can also look at the wedding scenes shown in Cave 12 from the late Tang Dynasty. This bride was dressed more gorgeously than previous brides. The phoenix crown was the headgear worn by empresses and noblewomen. However, because of the custom of Sesen was kept among the people, brides wore wedding clothes above their rank at the time. As for more remote areas, the social rules and rituals were looser. After going through different types of female costumes, we can return to the 3 research questions raised at the beginning. First, the female donor's clothing, female attire in male clothing, wedding archery clothing, daily clothing, and wedding clothing are present in Dunhuang. The traces can be found in the Dunhuang murals and poetry figurines on tombs. Second, Tibetan and nomadic cultures influenced female costume throughout the Tang Dynasty, particularly among people in Dunhuang. For example, females wore Hu-style riding and archery clothing. But the socio-economic conditions of the Tang Dynasty limited the range of costumes that females could choose. Early Tang's weak economy and low female status restricted clothing options. Middle Tang prosperity brought bright dyes, jewelry, and greater freedom for women to choose outfits. However, the late Tang saw economic collapse and political chaos, rejecting foreign influences and leaving women unable to afford fancy clothes. That's all of our presentation. We hope you have learned more about the female costume in the Tang Dynasty. Thank you.